All right, Jim. Well, let's see how these questions taste for you. Our next one was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Keith in Boston. Based on film quality and performance, who would Jim say is the best wrestler to get into acting? While The Rock may have the most box office success, I'm not compelled to his movies as the star. I'm not compelled to his movies. Okay, is what it says. I'm not compelled to his movies as the star. My favorite wrestler in a movie role is Roddy Piper in They Live. Jesse Ventura is a close second, but had more valuable roles than Piper did to me. I thought Kane was great in See No Evil, despite being a kind of weak movie. There's a long list. Hulk Hogan, Terry Funk, Andre the Giant, John Cena, etc. Who does Jim consider the best wrestler in a significant movie role?
I always loved Terry Funk in anything he did because he was still Terry. And especially, you know, Frankie the Thumper or whatever the fuck. It was, you know, let's face it, even The Rock is, I think you said it best a few weeks ago on one of these shows. The Rock is fantastic at being The Rock. But he's just such an outsized personality that he's always good and entertaining and you want to watch him, but it's not like he's a great actor. But I can't think of any wrestler turned actor in a TV part or a movie part that has really, you know, pressed any fucking parameters on the Oscars or the Emmys, or, you know, is going to take over Meryl Streep's position of honor, whatever. But Terry always seemed like he just took to it naturally. And was, you know, whatever that fucking weirdo that he was going to be, he put some of him in it, but he was different. You know, I like Terry in the movies. And Piper was great in They Live. And Roddy he could kind of inhabit a role. I'm not saying that he was going to, you know, give Orson Welles any, you know, sleepless nights, but, you know, but Piper and Funk and, I mean, Andre was he was being Andre. Hogan was always just so over the top, clowny or cartoony or whatever. He was just being Hulk Hogan in a movie. What do you think? Is there anybody I'm not thinking about that really transitioned into great acting skills?
You know, he never got any really great roles, but the limited stuff I saw with Steve Austin, I think he could have done better stuff.
Yeah, there you go. Because, you know, but at the same time, I don't know if Steve would have been a multifaceted, like a comedy hero, right. But he's, you know, he's an action movie star.
It may be Piper, because, I mean, everyone loves They Live. I love Body Slam. That's like my favorite wrestling movie ever. And everything he did after that, I mean, the limited stuff you saw, the tag team show with him and Ventura, the bad B movies, Hell Comes to Frogtown, I mean, just various things. Piper was pretty good. Terry, it's a weird thing. And I don't know the answer. I love Terry Funk. Is Terry Funk good at acting? Or do I love Terry Funk so much that I'm just happy to see him on TV? I don't know. Frankie the Thumper's an interesting role. It's a very interesting movie and a very interesting role, and it's one of the few Sylvester Stallone movies that made no money. Hogan, Rocky III is clearly his best thing. And then after that, it's what, Suburban Commando and
But you know what, there's the thing is, the Rocky III role was the classic wrestler is a rotten actor and he said the lines in a wooden fashion, but because he's so big and visual and it's a memorable scene, it gets over.
Brett was on TV. Brett really didn't have any movies other than documentaries about Brett. Who else? Andre was in Mickey and Maude, so was Big John Studd and various other people. What'd you think of Andre as an actor?
Well, again, I mean,
Andre, Princess Bride. I should.
Princess Bride. That's the big one, and I mean, he got raves from the cast there because he was such a nice, you know, gentle giant fellow at that time. But well, let's go back a little ways though, because in the olden days is really the most prolific wrestler turned actor maybe in the history of Hollywood would he be Nat Pendleton? Think about it. You saw Nat Pendleton play a heavy or a cop or a private detective he was in Buck Privates with Abbott and Costello, a drill sergeant, whatever. He was in the movies for 25 years. He was still a pro wrestler. He was in the 24 Olympics. Then he was a pro wrestler for a while, but he was in the movies for 25 years and did pretty good. There was old Lenny Montana made The Godfather.
That's a pretty notable role.
But I'm just trying to think of most times when a wrestler, Gorgeous George was the first pro wrestler that got a starring role in a movie because he was so hot on television. Alias the Champ in 1949. I have an original movie poster, but that was a B movie that made no money, and Gorgeous George was a shits. But it was a starring role for the hottest wrestler in the country at the time. So
it's amazing Buddy Rogers never got any film roles, even though there was a famous Buddy Rogers in Hollywood. But beyond that, the wrestler Buddy Rogers.
Yeah, that is, when you think about it, is in almost any other era he would have. He wasn't the biggest box office attraction except regionally in St. Louis and Toronto, a few other places, while George was on top of the Los Angeles television. And then by the time that Rogers was really the man in the entire business, wrestling was off network TV, and then he was retired and out of it by the time that things came back around in the late 70s, early 80s, except for Andy Kaufman getting him on TV.
Based on anyone you've been around in wrestling, who that never went into films, never did any acting, do you think could have been a good actor?
Ooh, boy. Again, Mick Foley could probably do any acting part, just because he's so real and genuine and well-spoken and thoughtful and studies things and has a way of coming off natural. MJF is going to be fun to see what happens in 10 years or so. And unless wrestlers are so ill thought of by that point that nobody wants to get them in a fucking movie. Rhea Ripley needs to be the biggest female action star in Hollywood, because what other actress do they have with that size and that look? What other wrestler can speak that well and has that look? She's very unique, and I see a crossover movie star waiting to fucking happen.
Do you think MJF is too old to play a high school bully?
No, fuck no. He can shave extra close. And they'll buy him at 17.
All right, you'll buy that at 17. And there's no easy transition out of that. Let's get to our next question here.